Ladies and gentlemen, round two, Habs Jets, game one, and the Habs take it. And guess what? Usually this would be a great opportunity to talk about a lot of things. I'd like to talk about Shea Weber being on a breakaway, doing a pump fake, and then Brendan Gallagher finishing it. I'd like to talk about Nick Suzuki pulling off a Datsuki and Deke on a 2-on-1 with, I believe, Cole Caulfield. I want to talk about Jeff Petrie usually doing a great slap pass to Jesperi Kotkaniemi, who gets another goal to start this series off. But unfortunately, tonight, the No Respek Podcast, myself, Mackie, Alex, and Justin, are going to have to talk about this fucking egregious hit by Mark Scheifele at the end of the game, who gets frustrated at the fact that they're losing, and Jake Evans is putting it in an empty net. And this is what we have to talk about. So, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, it's a spoiled night. Again, we talk about a great game for the Montreal Canadiens. Maybe we can talk about that first before we get into, obviously, the big topic of tonight. Alex, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, like you said, a bit of a sour end to that game, but great performance overall by the Montreal Canadiens to come in and win game one. Worst case, we're coming back home to the Bell Center 1-1. Hopefully we can take game two, but great start to the series. Some guys stepped up. The fourth line was incredible. Perry and Stahl have some chemistry, probably dating from 15 years ago on Team Canada rosters or something, but they were great together. Nick Suzuki, unbelievable hands. And I want to shout out Joel Edmondson, probably the best game I've seen him play for Montreal. He looked very good offensively as well, which is very impressive. I think they were saying he had 9 or 10 shot attempts, so that was crazy. And Carey Price, again, not as dominant as the Toronto games, but he came up big a few times, and that's all that was needed. So yeah, good game. And after Justin's take, I guess we'll get into the more sad stuff.
Yeah, thinking about Jake Evans. Justin, go ahead.
Yeah, obviously, Alex said a lot of it. I think we got to Connor Hellebuck early and got some goals against him, and that kind of maybe shook his confidence, at least in this game, a little bit. And yeah, we got to him, and we kept playing our game. We kind of left off just where we were in Game 7 against Toronto, so it was great to see. And one of the players that I thought was having a great game was Jake Evans on his birthday tonight. And just a fucking shame to see something like that. It's you obviously never want to see something like that. And this one, it seems like it's just an egregious hit. Like you said, Mark Scheifele seemed frustrated that he was obviously off the score sheet tonight. They were about to lose the game. I thought he could have maybe put his stick out to stick check Jake Evans to maybe stop the goal there, or at least attempt to do that instead of trucking through him. But yeah, just a gutless hit in my opinion, and I hope he gets some games for that.
Yeah. Again, I agree with everything that has to do with the game. It was just a great performance by the Montreal Canadiens that were obviously carrying the momentum that they got from the Toronto Maple Leafs series, that Game 7 win, of course, that we're coming off of that high on Monday night. The Jets looked a little bit rusty. It was a pretty valid kind of theme that we saw, and I was ready to talk about this in length tonight because, it's true. When you have a week off and you've been not playing hockey, not playoff hockey, and you have to get into the swing of things right away for round 2, there's nothing in a practice that can get you that ready, to be honest. Like, you can't get ready for the playoffs with practice only. You need to feel the ice, you need to feel your opponent, and that was the start. It's the hot starts that got us back into the series against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and again to start this series against the Winnipeg Jets. But we come back to this this end of game incident with Mark Scheifele, and I'll caveat this here. Before tonight, I had no problems with Mark Scheifele. I found it weird that he was a guy that didn't swear as an adult. That was pretty much it. And I'm starting to think that the reason why he didn't swear is just because he's a fucking child. Because what he was doing tonight and not just at the end of the game. Now, I know that there's going to be some Jets fans that right away are like turned off by the way that I'm talking about this. You know, I don't feel like talking about it like this, but it's just, you got to put yourself in the shoes of you being a Jets fan and seeing a player getting unnecessarily knocked out. You know, we were all kind of fucking shocked when JT got injured in the first round, and that was an incident that was purely accidental. Now we're looking at a play that's, again, similar in the sense that you have a player that's knocked out absolutely cold, but it's because of an intention, the intent. And I know, I guess we can, talk about this more in length. I guess let's get your takes. I don't know. Is there any benefit of the doubt that you give to Mark Scheifele in this one? Let's start with you, Alex.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I guess, I don't know. I'll let you guys dig more into the actual hit itself. I kind of want to give a take that I'll preface by saying this isn't my opinion, but just what I believe is going to happen suspension-wise. And I don't see Scheifele getting more than 1 or 2 games. And again, I want to emphasize that this isn't my take on this. I'd like to see him gone for a while. But the hit itself, the contact itself, did not look that bad. Like you said, the intention behind the hit was definitely bad. He should not have gone for that hit, but the hit itself was not awful. I've seen worse elbows to the head or just blindsides, let's say. So yeah, I don't know if I want to dive too much into it, just because I know you guys have a more, I guess, a harsher take on it. So maybe I'll let you guys dig into this more.
Well, I just want to say, Alex, listen, I will agree that from a technical standpoint, and I get where you're coming from. You're talking from a technical rule book standpoint, and I get where you're coming from, and it makes sense. But for me, the biggest difference in this, again, I come back to the intent, which is the major difference between certain of the other hits that you'll see in the league that are more egregious from a technical, by the book standpoint, that are more dangerous from a physical standpoint. But context and intent are a part of what makes a judgment for suspension. And this time, when I look at the replay, and we'll get into it later, I'll let you, Justin, kind of give your take. But for me, that's the major difference here.
Yeah, just going into intent of it, like the fact that it's the end of the game, a minute left. I know it's a fast game, but the guy had just scored, and you go for a hit like that. To me, like the intent is all there. It's a frustrated Mark Scheifele just letting it all out on this guy, and I don't know. I just it's we've said it, like it's gutless. I don't want to see that kind of stuff, and I'll just say it. I hope that Jake Evans is okay. He seemed like he was moving around and stuff. I thought the fact that he went off on a stretcher was kind of mostly a precaution, because he seems to be moving his head even on the stretcher and moving his hands and stuff. So hopefully he's okay. And I think there was even a comment by Dominic Ducharme after the game that he stayed at Bell MTS Place. He didn't go to the hospital, so he seems to be like physically at least okay. There's not like I'm just assuming here that there's no like serious damage to him. Obviously, there's talks about like a concussion or something, but hopefully he's going to be okay from that. Just wanted to put that out there. Also, just another not a positive from the situation, but just a good gesture I saw on the ice was Nick Ehlers kind of blocking all the players in the scrum from getting onto Jake Evans. So I thought that was just like a really good Samaritan thing from Nick Ehlers. So props to him for that. And yeah,
Alex.
Yeah, let me jump back into this here just to make sure I don't get flamed too hard. I do want to say again, like my opinion isn't that he should only get 1 game or no games. I do want to see him suspended for a pretty long time. But I guess my pessimistic side is looking at suspensions we've seen in the playoffs so far. Kadri, the only reason Kadri got 8 games is because he has a severe history of suspensions. And we saw Ryan Reeves the other night, who basically put his knee into a guy's head who was on the ground, and he ripped his hair out, I think, and he got 2 games, which that was clearly like not even a hockey play with a clear intent to injure, and he only got 2 games out of that. And Reeves is already a known offender. So I guess it's just my pessimistic side looking at this is that I don't see Scheifele being gone for more than 1 or 2 games. I agree with both of you 100% that the intent and the need for the hit was definitely not there. He might have been able to even stop that goal if he had just played it with his stick, but I think frustration took over. So I guess I was just trying to bring more of the analytical side to it rather than the emotional take. But I agree with you guys 100% that there's no need for that hit in the game.
Yeah, I'm just going to develop on the intent here. Is that I'm looking at the replay right now, and I know that we don't have the footage here so that we can exactly pinpoint it. You know, maybe that'll be something that we can technically do next year. But for now, I'm looking at the replay on video, and I personally, of course, as I wear this Habs jersey with a bias with a fucking player that we love here in Jake Evans because we watch this team, we have a fucking podcast about this team, I'm completely aware of this. I do think that we try our best to keep that in mind, and even keeping that in mind, for me, I see a player in Mark Scheifele that clearly makes a decision that I'm not going to go and play the puck. I'm going to hurt him because I am pissed off that I'm losing this game. And that, to me, this is shit that you see when you're playing fucking midget hockey and some kid fucking hits puberty before the other kid and he thinks that he's fucking nasty and fucking takes it out and does something stupid, and it becomes a teaching moment when you're 13 years old, when you're not allowed to swear like Mark Scheifele. Okay? That's what I saw. A child on the ice making a childish fucking dangerous play, and you're in the NHL. That's my honest, reactionary, biased Montreal Canadiens opinion, and I honestly don't give a fuck. So I might get flamed by fucking Jets fans here. I don't care, because if it was your player at the end of the fucking game like this, you'd be feeling the exact same way. I might come back on it. I would have loved to hear the comments of Mark Scheifele, because before this game, I actually respected Mark Scheifele. I respect the Jets as an organization. I actually really like this team. But now you've changed the dynamic of this fucking series, and it's on. And some of the quotes that we saw from the Montreal Canadiens players, Joel Edmondson saying that if he comes back, we're going to make his life living hell or miserable, whatever he said. Either way, if the league doesn't take care of it, you better fucking hope that they do take care of it, because the Montreal Canadiens are going to go nuts. Justin, go ahead.
And also, I mean, just to add on to that, Mark Scheifele is very lucky that it was Tyler Toffoli that got to him first there, because if it was Shea Weber, I think his head would be clean off his fucking body. Yeah. I mean, Shea Weber, it's just great to see. I mean, great to see. It's obviously a shitty situation, but it's great to see the leadership on the ice, and like the fact that he was so fucking fired up and angry about it, like and ready to throw down right there. So I mean, fuck, man, it's just so frustrating to watch. Like I was just pissed off, like instantly pissed off. When I first saw the hit and I didn't know that Jake Evans got injured, I was like, wow, great on Jake Evans to like take the hit to score the goal and kind of just like make the effort there. And it was just like a very, I mean, I guess brave thing of him to do, just to like know that you can potentially get rocked there and still go for it. So yeah, I was ready to praise Jake Evans. I mean, I'm still ready to praise him. Obviously, like he took the hit like a champ, but to get the goal. But it's shitty to know that that's the repercussions of it are like this.
Yeah, Jesperi Kakiniemi saying that it's disgusting. Who else? Dominique Ducharme saying it's useless. The word disgusting. The word disgusting is trending on Twitter tonight. And it's, I think, again, Twitter is not the end all be all for opinions, but for Christ's sake, if you look at this fucking replay, which I have, it doesn't help for this podcast because I just keep getting more pissed as I'm watching this replay as it keeps going. And one last quote that I'll say here is that even Brendan Gallagher, who knows Mark Scheifele, I believe they trained in the summer together. His quote after the game, speaking with one of the interviewers here, is that he knows Mark Scheifele and he knows that he knows better. And so it's brutal, didn't need to happen, wrong play, he knows better, the direct quote. Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, here's the thing too for the league. These are the kind of hits that they have to start getting out of the game if they don't want more head trauma backlash than they're already getting. Because like we all said, the hit itself was completely unnecessary. And I'm not going to debate about if there was an elbow to the head or not, but an impact at that speed when the player should not be getting hit is going to cause trauma to the head. Even though we saw that Evans was moving, like you said, and stuff, realistically, there's a concussion there. They don't have to run many tests to see that. And Evans, I think, is a guy this is probably his third concussion now. I know he missed the last playoffs as well, right? I believe that was a concussion as well. And there was one when he was in the AHL. And these are the hits that have to not be in the league anymore. And we've seen over and over Parros kind of missing the mark. There was a big statement from the Rangers a couple months ago saying that they don't think he's fit to lead the Department of Player Safety. And depending on what comes down from this decision, again, I'm being pessimistic about it. I'm expecting 1 or 2 games at most. Hopefully he proves me wrong. Hopefully Scheifele's out for at least the series. But yeah, overall, I don't know. It seems the league prefers to punish the more questionable ones, and hits like these that were completely unnecessary seem to go 1 game or a fine, and they'll deem it a hockey play. So hopefully that's not what happens, but I think the league has to. This might be the guy you need to send a message. He's debatably a superstar, and maybe this could be a turning point for the league to show that they're actually taking this stuff seriously.
Yeah, one thing I'm also a bit pessimistic because I've just been. I mean, the fucking Department of Player Safety is an absolute joke. Like, they seem to just be the most as inconsistent as the refs, actually. So it's pretty fitting, but they just seem to put any amount of games for any type of hit. It seems like there's no consistency at all, and no real goal that they have of taking these kind of hits out of the game. Like they seem to go flip flop on the same types of hits that are getting 1, 2, 7 games. So and other types of things, like the Tom Wilson situation. We don't have to get into that right now, but obviously I'm not expecting. I kind of agree with Alex's take at the beginning that it could end up being like a 1 or 2 game suspension, because the hit itself, like if you're taking the hit, if it was in the middle of a hockey game, that kind of hit I don't think would garner a big suspension. Like, it's the fact that it's the end of the game, it's an empty net goal. It's the kind of play you only really would have on an empty net goal. Like, you wouldn't see this when the goalie's in the net, really. So it depends if the Department of Player Safety takes that into account, takes the kind of the clock into account, that the fact if there's a minute left in the game, this is kind of just like a frustrated player that's hitting him. And yeah, it's a fucking crapshoot though. Like, you can't know what the fuck George Parros and his team have in their heads or what they're gonna do. So hopefully it's a few games. I think that's what it deserves. It's a fucking disgusting hit. Like, that's like what's trending on Twitter right now. It's and yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. It's just gross.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think there's a rule in place. I don't know the exact rule. All I know is that if it's not a rule, it's the reason why the icing rule exists is to avoid contacts that are unnecessary. The icing rule I'm talking about is that before you hit the end board for a puck race, you have to just reach the hash mark, and that's when they call the icing. Why do you think they do that? It's to avoid fucking useless hits at the end that can be dangerous. And now we have a similar situation here. I get it. It's a playoff game. You're trying to finish strong. You're frustrated. I get all of that. But you have no right to go out and intently hurt somebody after going top speed. When you're fucking skating, everybody who's played hockey and has watched hockey knows this. When you're going top speed from the other end zone and coming to another player, I don't care if you stopped a little bit before with your stride. You're going like 40 kilometers an hour for a player that's not expecting a hit, and you did this. It's as simple as that. The NHL Department of Safety, player safety, has an opportunity. Will they take it? That's the question. I don't think they will, like you guys. But one thing's for sure is that if they don't do anything and they're pissed off about fights in game, this is why they still fucking fight. That's as simple as that. You know, if you think that there's going to be no response from the Montreal Canadiens as soon as Scheifele, even when Scheifele isn't there, I'm expecting something. Honestly, I think that
even
there's
if
going
it's
to be
next
something.
year, even if he misses the whole series in his next regular season, it'll blow up then. It's gonna blow up at some point. So yeah, they have to try to minimize that somehow.
On the agenda now. It's done. So we'll see what happens. And I don't know. Listen, I would have loved to have talked about the actual game a little bit more. Again, like Nick Suzuki pulled off a disgusting move that like I would have loved to have break down. Cole Caulfield had himself a game. All of these things. It just feels weird to talk about it with like an excitement that we normally would have had because of this incident, like we said. So heading into game 2, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just not to mention the fact that Jake Evans himself was having such a great game too. Like,
yeah.
That's what's pissed me off the most is like it's not only that a player that we have watched all season long has gotten injured. It's actually a player that's been kind of breaking out recently.
Yeah.
And it's just such a fucking shame to see, and it's frustrating. And hopefully it's not very serious what he's going through. And it's just a shame.
Yeah, end of the day, we're like, you know, as Habs fans, everybody is thinking, and even non-Habs fans, I think the whole hockey world, just like John Tavares, we're thinking about Jake Evans here. On his birthday, has to go through this after a Game 1 victory for the Habs in a game that he played extremely well. It's just a shit fucking useless situation caused by, I think, a very childish act, an immature and irresponsible act by Mark Scheifele. You know, again, for Jets fans, I'm pretty sure that you've heard this enough by now when you're watching this video. These are the thoughts right after the game, so they're extremely, hot on the topic right now for us. I guess let's talk about the game 2 matchup here. Obviously, now Jake Evans, I wouldn't expect him to be in, anytime soon. Probably a concussion. Thomas Tatar probably going to take that spot. Do you guys foresee anything different in the way that you see the Habs play? I think this is just going to get nasty, to be honest. I think now this series is really going to get, if there was nothing between the Jets and the Habs right now, this is like the Eric Greiba, Eller type of situation that sparks something between two teams, I think. We'll see how it plays out. That's why I wanted to see certain comments at the end of the game from the Jets side. I haven't found anything at the time that we're recording. So, Justin, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think even before the Scheifele hit, it was getting pretty chippy out there, and the Jets are a hard hitting team. I think they were beating us in hits, which speaks to our possession game this game. But obviously, yeah, it was getting chippy there. So I kind of expected this, even if that hit at the end didn't happen. But now that it did, it's all bets are off. And you know what? I mean, next game, I'm expecting the refs to really call penalties to start off the game and try and really calm it down and not let things get out of hand. But yeah, I agree with you. Tatar is probably going to come in. I would be excited to maybe see a Romanov come in for Eric Gustafsson. I think Gustafsson has been great, I think, in the last 2 games against the Leafs. But I mean, Romanov deserves it. I think he deserves his shot in the playoffs, and he was there all season. And I think he can really make a difference on the back end. So I hope to see him. Other than that, I just hope the Habs keep up this momentum and come out the gate flying like they did this game. And yeah, just keep up the sound kind of possession. And yeah.
Alex, yourself?
Yeah, I think like you both said, we can probably expect a chippier affair next game, and I think the Jets will come out hotter to start next game. We'll probably have to weather a storm. Also, obviously depends what happens with the Scheifele decision. And Justin mentioned the possible changes to the Habs roster. So I'll look at the Jets. They had Stastny unexpectedly miss today's game. I think it was in the warm-up that he pulled out. So I'm not sure what to expect from him next game. And Dylan DeMello, who is Josh Morrissey's D partner, who plays on the first pairing, he left after I think 30 seconds after his first shift. So those are two
rolled his
pretty
ankle
big,
or something.
yeah, two pretty big pieces for the Jets who are missing. And now if Scheifele as well, depending on what happens there, the Jets may be lower on their depth than expected. I'm not saying that I'm pleased that Jets players are injured, but it's an opportunity for Montreal to come back to Montreal with a 2-0 lead. And I think we have to take that and take those opportunities when they come up and hopefully come out big and win game 2.
Yeah, we shall see. One thing's for sure is that game 1 turned unexpectedly, and now we've got ourselves a very different narrative for this series, I believe. And not for good reason, unfortunately. So, again, I think the only thing that I'll kind of reiterate is one of the keys to success tonight was our defense. I said it last podcast. We all agreed having some more offense from our defense is going to be key in this series, and that's exactly what we did. Some big performances from key players. Jeff Petrie, I think, had 2 assists tonight. Eric Stahl had a goal. Corey Perry had an assist. Just an all-around, I think, very good, solid game until that end. So I'm excited for that prospect for it to continue, and we shall see. Game 2 starts on Friday, but before that, we've got Justin.
I just want to say Eric Stahl, goal and assist this game, 6 points in 7 games in the playoffs this season.
Yeah.
What a fucking steal.
Not to mention, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, I think, is 1 goal away from tying Sid the Kid and Wayne Gretzky's record for youngest player with most goals before 21 or something like that.
Yeah.
That's it. There you go. So, game 2, Habs Jets. Let's see what happens. For Alex, for Justin, and for myself, Mackie, you've been listening to the No Respek Podcast, always reminding you to respect the Orgasm Nation. Have a good one. Go Habs, go. And fuck Mark Scheifele, to be honest.